Harry's wife, the most hated royal couple. Lee Cohen has an opinion piece published for Fox News stating Harry's wife's coronation decision is right for all the wrong reasons. He states, late last year, I forecast on these pages that Prince Harry and Harry's wife were well on the way to becoming the most hated ever royal couple, inheriting with gusto that role from the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. And it's worthwhile just jumping back in time to see what's being stated about that. And Lee Cohen wrote, and this was in the middle of December last year, Prince Harry and Harry's wife risk becoming most hated royal couple. He stated, in the latest humiliation for embattled royals Harry and Harry's wife, the couple have been urged to stay away from the May coronation of Harry's father, King Charles III. This is a serious gauge of public anger against the Sussexes, considering a coronation as a most important milestone in a sovereign's reign. It's a clear reflection of the anguish they have caused Harry's family and the nation. The latest example being the recently released Shitflix series, where the Sussexes air new grievances against Harry's family and birthright. Another flawed royal exiled from his family's good graces was Harry's great-great-uncle, the Duke of Windsor, who attended neither the coronation of his brother George VI in 1937 nor of his niece Queen Elizabeth in 1953. The parallels hardly end there. Brits can be forgiven for being less than enthusiastic about members of their royal family marrying Americans, because, let's face it, our womenfolk hardly have a glittering track record in this regard. Of course, there are wonderful American women who could rise to the occasion and do us proud serving as royal consorts. But sadly, there have been only 2 Anglo-American royal unions, and both have proven more damaging than affirming for Britain's monarchy. And thus, back then, in the opinion piece, Lee Cohen goes on to state that they risk being the most hated royal couple. But he continues in the most recent opinion piece, stating, I could but chortle this week when I saw Twitter hashtag Walmart Wallace, tending in reference to Harry's wife, who has opted to forego the biggest day of the life of her father-in-law, the King's May the 6th coronation. While it turns out her absence is the best possible outcome, it is inspired by the wrong reasons. With all the strife brought on by Harry and Harry's wife, it is stupefying but praiseworthy that King Charles III, still hopeful of family harmony, extended an invitation to the couple. I, of course, have explained elsewhere why he has done so, and he's played a blinder in that regard. But Harry's wife declining is probably best for all concerned. Her absence avoids the Harry and Harry's wife show from distracting from the significance and true focus of the solemn occasion. That, of course, is correct because, as you know, Harry's wife needs it to be all about her. Notwithstanding the fact that she's not attending, though, you know, and I know, that she will not be able to help herself, but in the space of time that exists between now and the coronation, the next couple of weeks, she'll continue to dole out the PR puff pieces and demonstrate the false humility of, I just want it all to be about Charles by talking about myself, and that on the day itself, she will do something, as I've predicted, in order to try and steal the thunder. See parts pass him. Cohen continues by stating that so too, from Harry's wife's perspective, her lack of attendance spares her the public jeering that likely would meet any appearance in the United Kingdom, the humiliation of less than top billing, and any deserved frosty encounters with other family members. Of course, her narcissism defends her by not exposing her to this. Even so, Harry's wife's refusal to attend, like much of her behaviour of recent years, is an affront to a king who so went out of his way to welcome her warmly into his family. Use of his facade, of course. The unhappy couple has spewed out a litany of self-serving complaints since, pity play, revision of history, smearing. Recall how readily Charles stepped in when Harry's wife's own father couldn't be at their wedding. Cognitive empathy, facade management. I'll do whatever Harry's wife needs and I'm here to support you. He did and has. And miraculously, in the face of attack after stinging attack, Charles's love remains seemingly unshakable. Or rather, the portrayal of that love through the management of his different facade has remained unshakable because of his different classification of the type of narcissist. The public at large and the family showed genuine delight when Harry found the bride who would, it seemed, make him happy. And indeed, it's correct. At the time, many people thought, good for you, Harry. We like you, and you found someone, so you're going to be happy. Subsequent public disenchantment has had nothing to do with race or parentage. Indeed. Although, of course, we all know that Harry's wife has to make it about those things. That emerged in tandem with realization that, with an obvious failure to grasp the selfless nature of royal service, the Duchess was ill-suited from the start to an active royal role. Her approach can be explained by the Hollywood celeb culture that she is so steeped in. Well, actually, no. Her approach can be explained by her narcissism. The fact that her style of narcissism needed to make it all about her rather than harnessing the institution to amplify the prime aims, it became a direct competitor to the pursuit of the prime aims. And thus, when she wanted to do A and was told that's not how things are done around here, rather than cleverly think, well, is there an alternative to get to what I need by doing B or C, she lacks the intelligence or the ability to get there, and instead her narcissism just shunted to a different form of control, which would be to complain, to bully, to lash out. Accordingly, although her behaviour is framed within that concept of the celeb culture, that isn't what is guiding it. It is her narcissism. But interestingly, Cohen does partially recognise this, because he goes on to write, Harry, raised to take on a life of royal service, sadly has opted to sink to Harry's wife's level of narcissism, where they, rather than nation and service, must be the centre of attention. It's evident, although Cohen makes reference to her narcissism, he doesn't fully recognise and understand what that means. When they agreed to step back from royal service, the ruthless pair was not content simply to walk away. They exploited, for financial and reputational gain, the very family and institution that provided the couple's only hook to continued public interest. She does so, of course, as a consequence of her absence of emotional empathy and the pursuit of the prime aims. He does so because he's so wrapped up in her folie à deux. To do this for maximum profit required a coordinated, media-fueled hatchet job, complete with unsubstantiated allegations of racism, from which subsequently Harry, at least, has tried to walk back. Naturally, with their browbeating, whining and family betrayals, public opinion of the Sussexes has plummeted. The spectacle they inflicted on the Queen in her last years was probably what turned off the UK public most. Spare, Harry's Moan Marathon autobiography not only confirmed the judgment, but also brought realisation to the wider world stage. The consequence? They've rightly been lampooned and pilloried by stand-up comedians, and most piercingly, the South Park satire. Like all satire, it is effective because it is so obviously on target. End result, they are now coming to be regarded as critically in their current home as in their former. In light of hemorrhaging public support for the Californian couple, it is hardly surprising Harry's wife has opted to stay home rather than support her adopted family, country, and king. The frigid reception that would be likely not just from the crowd but the family members in attendance makes this very wise, Cohen states. And this works, well, all round. Harry attending solo will make less of a target. It is right that he should attend his father's biggest day. His absence would signal something far more profound and final regarding his ties to his family and nation. Still, The situation is bound to have an air of awkwardness, because no one in the family can ever again trust him not to repeat or misrepresent even the most private familial interactions. Thus, of course, Harry becomes tainted as a consequence of the control and association he has with his wife. Viewed from across the sea, from our non-royal republic, many may scratch their heads about all the fuss. But a coronation is not a mere family get-together. And while cameras across the globe will be capturing it for posterity, it should certainly not be perceived as a drama-filled Hollywood soap opera. Rather, it is our staunchest ally and mother country's most singular constitutional and religious state occasion. Leading British historian Dr. David Starkey has called the coronation the fundamental contract between the king and his people. An event of such significance must be handled with the discretion it deserves. Lee Cohen with an opinion piece, again putting the hammer in on Harry's wife, demonstrating once again how the pair of them are viewed and how, in essence, they continue their status towards most hated. Of course, the use of the term hate is a strong one, and there will be some people who say, I absolutely do hate the way that they have behaved. For others, it's dislike, disdain, contempt. But it's all been brought about as a consequence of her, and more latterly, his behaviour. How would Harry's wife take to such an op-ed of this nature? Well, of course, she might not even see it, and therefore it would be irrelevant. But it summarises and contains many accurate attitudes towards her. But once again, the way that her narcissism functions is to think they're just haters. They're just nasty people. They're just people that don't understand me, and I'm better than them. I don't understand why they have to do this, apart from the fact that they must have sad and empty lives. Harry's wife's thinking in that regard is invariably mirrored by many of the dunderhead sugars that support her, that they will regularly lash out calling people racists and haters without any evidence or support of that they will regularly suggest, why are you obsessed with this person, that your life is so empty that you have to focus upon this individual, not realising that it's people take offence to the way that Harry's wife has behaved towards them, towards their country, towards their king, and they have every right to respond with offence to what she has said and done. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.